Yeah. Let me show my Hara Model Railway Museum before we start speech. This is the world's largest model railway museum I built in Yokohama in 2014. My father has a hobby. He made 1,500 model trains by himself. So I built a museum for him. So we have 6,000 trains. Out of 6,000, 1,500 trains were made by my father, by handmade. So this is a museum. I want to invite everybody to my museum. When Hong Kong and Japan start to the travel bubble. Right. Okay. We have trains from all over the world. Germany, France, Spain, Switzerland, United Kingdom, Ireland, Norway, Sweden, Finland, Russia, and Portugal, and of course, United States, and China, Taiwan, and many parts of the world. All were built by my father. And it's kind. This is an old Japanese train connecting Osaka and Kobe about 80 years ago.
Wow, very impressive. George, just like to say hello to you before the seminar starts. I'm sorry that I cannot join you in person, but since the seminar has been pre-arranged for some time, I thought that it's better go ahead as planned, and let's have an interesting hybrid experience. But when I'm out of prison next week, I look forward to seeing you in person on a pleasant occasion. But thank you very much for coming to our center to give this talk that we really anticipate. Thank you.
Okay, if you are in the prison in Japan, I am currently the chairman of the council member of the council of the Ministry of Justice. I can get you out right now.
I can't complain. I've gone through 15 days of quarantine now, so I hope that I still appear sane and not as mad as I normally am. Wow, Hara models.
And my father spent 80 years to make these trains by himself, all handmade.
The details are amazing. It just looks so real, everything.
Yeah, this is a small, but it's real. It's all made of metal. There is no way we can find the model rail made by actual steel. So we had to make the model rails made by steel by ourselves.
Wow.
So everything is handmade.
So distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, and all participants online. So good afternoon and welcome to the Dr. Lee Dak-Sum Research Seminar titled Creating a Well-Educated and Healthy Middle Class Worldwide. And so first, I would like to invite Professor Paul Tam, Director of the Dr. Lee Dak-Sum Center, to give the welcome speech. Thank you.
George, distinguished guests, colleagues and students, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very pleased to welcome you all to the 6th Dr. Lee Dak-Sum Research Seminar, a unique hybrid seminar this time. I'm sorry that I cannot be with you in person because of the requirement for hotel quarantine when I returned from my European trip. But I'll be with you all the way on web. And I thank all the participants, both those who are able to be with us physically and those who join us on the internet. This is still a relatively new experience for us, organizing hybrid symposium. So if there are any technical hitches, please be forgiving and tolerant. Just a few quick words about the Dr. Lee Dak-Sum Center. It was established in 2015 with a generous donation of Dr. Lee Dak-Sum with the primary aim to establish a cutting-edge research hub for stem cells and regenerative medicine in this part of the world. Amongst its many academic activities, an important initiative was the start of the series of Dr. Lee Dak-Sum Research Seminar launched in 2020 when COVID-19 was still very much affecting our daily routines. And we had our Zoom research seminar at that time with an inaugural seminar by none other than our Professor K.Y. Yoon, who just received his Future Medicine Award. So in some way, we've been very lucky to have asked him to start this seminar series. This was then followed by a number of distinguished colleagues, both in the university and outside. And now we have Ambassador George Hara today to give us this research seminar. And without further ado, I will now pass on the podium to my colleague, Professor Ron Lee, to introduce George. Ron, please.
Thank you, Professor Tam. So, Ambassador Hara, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Ronald Lee, and it is with great pleasure and honor to introduce to all of you Ambassador George Hara. So as you will hear, so George has a very, very exceptional background and distinguished career with many unusual tracks and special interests, as well as many, many, many titles. So my apology by being very upfront that in case if I miss some of his titles, so please accept my apology. I just simply don't have enough time to do so. So let me begin the story. After graduating from the Faculty of Law of Keio University, George took a turn and became an archaeologist and performed research in Central America. So following this, George enrolled in the Stanford MBA program and received a Master of Science degree from the Stanford University Graduate School of Engineering. In Japan, Ambassador Hara has played a number of public roles. Just to give you a few examples, he served as Senior Advisor to the Ministry of Finance, the Prime Minister's Special Commissioner on the Government Tax Panel, and Advisor to the Ministry of Internal Affairs and Communications, a committee member of Japan's Industrial Structure Council, of the Ministry of Economy, Trade, and Industry. In the private sector, George has been considered one of the most prominent Silicon Valley venture capitalists in ICT. He has led more than 20 companies as a board member, board director, as well as chairman. So these include, but are not limited to, merger activities with some of the household names, such as Intel, Cisco, and IBM. So Ambassador Hara currently serves as the group chairman and CEO of DEFTA Partners Groups, USA, Japan, EU, and Hong Kong. He's also the chairman of the Alliance Forum Foundation, which is a non-profit organization in special consulting status with the UN Economic and Social Council, focusing on important world issues, such as eradicating malnutrition, improving education and healthcare, and promoting economic self-reliance and empowerment in developing nations. So you can see that George has very, very broad interests and really helping out not only his country, but also the mankind. So without further ado, let's welcome Ambassador George Hara, an archaeologist, social entrepreneur, and venture capitalist. And his talk this afternoon is entitled, Creating a Well-Educated and Healthy Middle Class Worldwide. So thank you, George.
Thank you very much for your kind introduction. I think it's too much for me. Thanks. Today, I'd like to talk about what we are going to talk about is a very idealistic. You may think it's very unrealistic. I think we have to think about to make the ideality as a reality. So I think we'd like to share my vision with all of you. The topics is creating a well-educated and healthy middle class worldwide. This is what I have done for the last 40 years, since 1980s. To make that happen, I created a concept called the public interest capitalism. So let me explain what it is. The public interest capitalism is a new concept of the capitalism. Still very new, but this is going to become the new normal by mid-century of 21st centuries. So we have to talk about the public interest here. So let me read. The public interest refers to economic and general well-being of ourselves, our children, and their children. A company should be a public institution. I mean, company is not a tool of the shareholders. It's a public institutions that contribute to the society through its business. Under public interest capitalism, we believe that the value of the company increases only when it successfully contributes to all its members, stakeholders, such as employees, customers, suppliers, local communities, larger societies, and the environment, all of which then will benefit its shareholders. So I proposed this idea around 2000 in the United States. I was the only one. The rest of the people do not agree with me. But I wanted to make it happen in the world. To make it happen, like replacing ROE, return of equity, with a new measurement, corporate value such as return on companies. Companies are member of the company, such as employees and blah, blah, blah. So if we proceed the public interest capitalism, which makes it's capitalism where everyone benefits in the corporate world. And also, if all the companies in the world implement this public interest capitalism, This is a capital that builds a healthy and well-educated middle class everywhere in the world. I skipped this one. I introduced. Thank you. These are the companies I created when I was a venture capitalist in the 1990s in the United States, in Israel, and the United Kingdom. I'm a Japanese, but I left Japan when I was early 20s and went to the El Salvador and Guatemala to study archaeology and studying migration route of Indian tribes over Maya civilizations. Unfortunately, I ran out of money to continue my research. So I had to make money to continue my archaeological research. Therefore, I went to the United States and studied at Stanford how to make money at business school. But I didn't like what I learned at MBA course. They are brainwashing the company are owned by shareholders. If this is true, the only objective of the corporation is to maximize shareholders' values. I completely disagreed. I was young. My professors are all senior people. I wasn't able to fight against them, but I didn't like. I felt very, very uncomfortable. So after I left Stanford, I created my first company. It's called GK Fiber Optics. America's first fiber optics company was founded by me back in 1981. It was very successful eventually, and then created this company called Wollongong. This is the first company in the United States which commercialized TCP/IP with the internet. And after that, you can see the UNet in the center. This is the first ISP in the world. Back then, this is the only one company around the world which provides internet service. We funded. Borland on the left bottom is the second largest software company after the Microsoft. And Zoran, you are using all the JPEG, MPEG, and DVD. This is the inventor with Israeli companies. And Fortinet on the left-hand side. This company was founded by the Chinese person, Ken Zi, out of Tsinghua University. He received a PhD degree in Stanford in computer science. And we created this company. It's now the largest, one of the largest cyber security companies. We started about with 10 people, now probably more than 20,000 employees. Has more than 57% market share on the cyber security market in the internet space. So we created many companies, but none of the company is short-term oriented. When we start, I continue to help the company 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, long term. So this is what I have done. However, the world issue is that, you see, all divided world. In the United States, this is the red line is top 1%, and the blue one is the left 90%, the poor people. Their wage increase, salary increase is only the poor, the rich people is gaining their wage. This is not only the US phenomenon, but also China as well. China adopted American capitalism in 1970s. So I think that some of the Chinese companies, Chinese entrepreneurs are more Americanized. I think they have to change and adapt the public interest capitalism to make the country and people more prosperous. UK is the same thing. Japan is the same thing. So worldwide, divided world, we can see everywhere in the world. In 2017, at the World Economic Forum, where I was the council member, it announced top 8 men, single men, nearly equals the bottom of 3.6 billion. It's a half of the total population of the Earth. The asset is the same. This is ridiculous. We have to do something. Then why this is happening? There are so many reasons, but I today focus on the shareholder-centric capitalism. When I started to make my companies go public in NASDAQ, in New York, and many other stock exchange after 1995, and all of a sudden, 1997, the US Business Roundtable declared shareholder supremacy. Shareholder is number one. Corporations are owned by shareholders. Therefore, CEOs and board of directors must work to maximize shareholders' values. I was so disappointed by these declarations. But all of my peers out of Stanford Business School, they are going for these directions, except me. But the rest is everybody's go for these directions. This is the most powerful economic federation in the United States. Therefore, they have a very strong influence all over the world, in Japan and EU nations, and the United Kingdom, of course. Then shareholder dividend, share buyback is increasing every year. This is the difference between the shareholder capitalism and the public interest capitalism. You can see the cycle. We believe the company are the public institutions, but they believe company belong to the shareholders. A difference. This is how much total return was giving back to the shareholders of the net profit. You can see very famous company in the United States all deliver more than 100% net profit. How come? How can they do it? In order to serve the shareholders, they are borrowing money out of the market and return to the shareholders. So amount of share buyback is, you can see, in parallel with the chart of the company debt. This is my company never do this, but all the US companies started to do this kind of act. This also influenced in Japan. In 2013 and 2014, the Japanese started to adopt the corporate governance code. I was against. That time, I was a special advisor to the cabinet office of the Prime Minister of Japan. Mr. Abe liked my ideas, but we are not able to go against US pressures. So Japanese corporation started to increase their shareholders' benefit. So you can see, these are all the major Japanese corporations. Before, like a 13, their buyback is like a 24%, 50%, smaller than 100. But after the corporate governance code was implemented, everybody started to behave well to deliver more than 100%. I didn't like this kind of ideas, but it happened. This corporate governance reform in Japan is simply called Trojan horse, carrying corporate governance into Japan. That means maximizing shareholder values. This is another aspect of the shareholder capitalism wrong. If you are the CEO of the airline company, this case, American Airlines, and if you make a mistake in the management and the company goes into the trouble, you may have to ask the company employee to accept $340 million pay cut. But in this case, the CEO and management took a bonus of $200 million. It is ridiculous. But when I criticize this kind of act in early, like 2000, 2001, 2003, I was the one who are criticized by the Wall Street. They say, corporation belongs to the shareholders. Employees' salary is a cost to the company. CEO cut the cost, which means he succeeded in increasing in value of the company, deserve to receive the bonus. It's logically correct, but ethically wrong. But many US corporations, even today, works this way. We have to change. As a result, the allocation for the employees, the labor share, has been decreasing in everywhere. Japan used to be higher, but now it's lowering this rate. US, European countries, and everywhere. So who got it? Who got the profit? This is the statistics from Japan. In 1991, Japan bubble burst. After that, sales of the Japanese corporations and then salary for employees, even salary for the directors have not been increasing. And amount of R&D started slightly decreased. Only people who got to benefit is the shareholders, this red line. Our team in Japan is now trying to create this kind of chart in China and other parts of the world. And we are going to show it maybe when we are ready to do it. I think we can see this kind of phenomena in everywhere in the world. So in the 1960s, the average holding period of the shares in the New York Stock Exchange is 8 years, in diminishing and became less than 1 year in 2005. Now, because of the high-speed trading and supercomputers, we do not know how short the holding period is, maybe 0.001 second or something like that. And the lower chart is very interesting. Many entrepreneurs think they can list the company in the public market to raise money. But this is showing if you list the company's money is going to be absorbed by the stock market. This is the total amount of stock issued. It's new issues minus share buyback is a net. The net started to negative in 1993 in the United States, and showing this kind of graph in Japan as well. Why they are short-termism are so prevailing? This shows shareholder-centric capital measurement is an internal rate of returns. If you make investment in $500,000, $500,000, and gain $2 million as a return, if you do it in 10 years, 14.87% IRR. If you do it in 5 years, 32%. If you do it in 1 year, 300%. And this internal rate of return is the most popular index among the investors to measure the performance of the investment. It's linked with salaries and bonus. So all the fund managers prefer to do the short-term investment speculations. But the problem is if we make investment in. We have to deliver the result within 5 years. No company can do that research and development. Within 3 years, even commercial distribution is not viable. What kind of business can be viable to deliver within 1 year? The same kind of result. It's the only viable business is a speculative investment, such as hedge fund and such as activist. And those people actually ruin our economies because speculation has to create a bubble, and bubble must burst. When the bubble bursts, the name of the game is zero-sum game. That means the wealth of the middle class goes up to the wealthier class, and middle class become the poor class. This is the reason of the divided world. So we have to change this fundamental structure of the economic world. All the real economies, the making, research and development, the commerce, is very important. Financial economy is very important, but this is a complement to the real economies. Real economy is not the complement to the financial economies. We should not forget about it. If this shareholder capital is combined with the traditional divide and rule kind of the concept, it is the consequences that middle class eventually disappear. The crimes and violence rises, war and terrorism are fueled. This is happening all over the world today. Divide and rule. This kind of the way of teaching should be stopped. This is a warning to the shareholder supremacy of the 1997. I wrote it in March 6 in 2003. I wrote the American style capitalism has to, within its potential to bring about the total destruction of all corporations that are beneficial to the society. The reason for this lies with a mistaken belief that a corporation belongs solely to its shareholder. A principle form, and then public traded companies are not the sole property of their respective shareholders, but also all public organ serving employees, customers, vendors, and society at large. My prediction is now becoming real. All the good companies such as Xerox, Hewlett-Packard, GE, they are all destroyed by shareholders. They are going to disappear eventually from the United States. If Japan or China or the rest of the world follow after this shareholder-centric capitalism, they are going to destroy important good companies which serve for the real economies. The mission of the company is never to maximize its market capitalizations. So this is very important. After I stated this statement in 2003, nobody really agreed with me in the States. But in 2013, very famous professor such as Lynn Stout, the Cornell professor of law school, she said, the concept of the shareholder-centric capitalism harms investors. And many papers we can see now. So even American law professors and business school professors are now starting to rethink about the shareholder supremacies. How we can solve these problems? The public interest capital. As I said, the company is a public institutions. A company refers the members that together support a corporation, employees, customers, suppliers, shareholders, community, and earth. Important thing is that when we make money, we have to distribute fairly a profit among the members who made the company successful. Shareholders should not monopolize all the profit. This is most important. And we have to do it in only every year for many years. So mid to long term, the management perspective is very important. But in order to prosper for many, many years, if we do the same thing, it will be not possible. So innovation and entrepreneurship is quite important. Even if we are successful, we always keep entrepreneur mindset and challenge the new research, new businesses. So these are three important pillars of the public interest capitalism. So let me compare. Shareholder-centric capitalism, the maximum shareholder value, they care share price, dividend over salary, and short-termism. Public interest capitalism, fair distribution of profit, long-term view, sustainable, and profitabilities. SDG says sustainability. So they should go against the shareholder-centric capitalism. However, way to make the SDG happen is ESG. ESG's governance means shareholder-centric capitalism. It has a contradiction within itself. So we would like to change this kind of concept within RCEP. So capitalism where every member and stakeholder benefits. And if company, all the company around the world does, the capitalism that build very educated, healthy middle class all over the world. So this is all designed. My team in Japan and United States, and also starting to build the team in Hong Kong, in public interest capitalism research division of the Alliance Forum Foundations. This is a non-government organization with a special consultative status with the United Nations Economic and Social Council. So we can make some kind of impact in the UN General Assemblies. So this one is interesting. After I talk to the, this is a statement from my Prime Minister Abe.
内閣総理大臣、この公益資本主義、原ジョージさんが主張申されている考え方でありまして、委員長も大変お詳しいわけでございますが、大変魅力的な考え方と思っております。基本的に我が国というのは、古代よりですね、下に朝して、朝から田を耕しですね、そして水を分かち合い、秋には共に五穀豊穣を祈り合ってきた民族でございました。一人の人が全部取っていく。でそれを取った人が分けるという、そういう社会ではなかったんだろうと、こう思います。ですから、我が国にふさわしい資本主義のあり方に、この考え方は似ているのではないかと、このように思うわけでございます。そこで、ただ所有する、あるいは株を動かすだけで利益を上げて、そこに利益が集中するという社会であれば、やはり社会は歪んでいく。そして、それに耐えられなくなった社会がですね、これはその時に大きな変革を求めて混乱するということになってしまうんだろうと、このように思います。いずれにせよ、頑張った人が報われる、汗を流した人が報われる社会をどのように作っていくか、そして一人の人に富が集中しない 社会をどのように作っていくかということが大切ではないか。こうした新しい発想に取り組んでいく上においてもですね、しっかりとまずは生産性を上げて競争力をつけていく。幸い今、企業は過去最高の収益を上げている。収益を上げていく中においてしっかりと分配を考えていくということが求められているんだろうと。それは今おっしゃったようにですね、ちゃんと賃金を上げていく。もちろん株主の利益を図っていくことも重要ですが、そうしたさらに未来への投資をしっかりと行っていくことによって、経済を回していく。経済の成長と分配の好循環をしっかりと回していくことがですね、より良き未来につながっていくのではないかと、このように思います。
So this is a very interesting case because Prime Minister usually does not ask the company president to raise their salaries of employees, but he started to do it after that he believed the public interest capitalism.
内閣総理大臣。
Next one. Yeah. This is to kill the short-termism. The abolish quarterly reporting is quite important. So this is what I started to do in the Abe administration, and I did. For this one, even Donald Trump supported ideas to abolish the quarterly reporting systems. So in 2017, after April, all the Japanese 307 listed companies, I did this reform. They don't have to fill this quarterly projection. It was abolished. As a result, the 200 million hours were saved, and 8 billion yen were also saved. And we are going to soon have a new prime minister. I'm working with that person to completely abolish these quarterly reporting systems. Then we can save 1.7 billion hours and 17 billion yen. So I'd like to use that amount of money to increase the salary for the people. So middle class and poor people should be more well treated. Wealthy people is already wealthy. We don't have to do anything for them. Mr. Toyota of the Toyota Motors and Toray, and so many Japanese corporate leaders are supporting my ideas. And this is an interesting number, 9176 784 1430. This is this number, dividend. Mr. Toyota and Toyota Motor, and there are 12 companies in the automobile industry in Japan. The average, the dividend is 91 yen per shares. If they agree to decrease to the 76 yen, very slight decrease, then we can increase salary in double. Not only for the employees, but also the executives as well. And also, since the salary increases, from the viewpoint of the government, income tax is going to increase. It's good for the government, good for the employees, good for the management. Slightly, a little bit, the shareholder can, but they are already very. Let's cooperate, make that happen. This is a Japanese telecommunication company. I think you can tell. I don't tell the names. They are paying the 10 times more than the amount of salaries to the shareholders. This is ridiculous. If they allocate 10% of the salary, the dividend, to shareholders, they can double the amount of salaries. If they can allocate another 10% to the users, we can make a telephone bill down quite a bit. By sacrificing the rest of the stakeholders or members of the companies, shareholders take too much. So this one, I'm going to work with the new prime minister as well. Suga-san liked these ideas, but he did the reduction of the telephone bill. This is a 2.8 million Japanese corporation. It's whole companies in Japan. In 10 years from 2010, sales increases 7%, net profit increased 140%, shareholder return increased 162% by borrowing money. But you see, compensation increased only 2%. Cash reserve in a company increased about 30%. By changing tax systems and many things, I'd like to make a more fair distribution of the profit. Then we can make many Japanese corporations more wealthier. They can spend more money for their education, for the children. They can stay and enjoy their life in an expensive resort. So these kind of things I'd like to do. The Alliance Fund Foundation, like the one, abolish the mandatory quarterly reports. Two, composition of the board of directors shall be designed reflecting such companies' conditions. So this kind of list we proposed. Many Japanese influential economic federations, such as the Kansai, it's Osaka Economic Federation, as well as the Chubu, it's a central part of Japan, such as Toyota Motor, and Kyushu, and Hokuriku in the northern part. They all agreed and adopted my recommendations. So we all talked to the new prime minister to do it. I was also appointed as a chairman of the Ministry of Justice. They found the Crisis Management Corporate Registration Council, September last year. I'm a chairman. Here, I am about to change Japanese corporate law, trust law, and many laws to protect employees. The company is going to, if they can reserve the part of the profit, don't distribute that profit for the shareholders and keep. Then when we see the pandemic in the near future again, then corporation can make use of that reserved money to pay salary bonus for all employees. In this way, we can protect employees and their family members by the efforts of the corporations. They don't have to depend on the government. So this is a nice structures. This can be done. And this is interesting. New prime minister, who is going to become? One is Mr. Kishida, former foreign minister. He is a nice guy. When he resigned, stepped down as foreign minister and became the one of the three top leaders of LDP, I proposed the salary doubling the policies to him. And he is now using this one. In the 2018, January 12, both newspaper is talking about this one. So now he is adopting this same thing in later version is income doubling towards run for LDP president. If he wins, he is going to be the prime minister. The female candidate, Sanae Takaichi, he was strongly supported by Prime Minister Abe. So she is doing quite well. She mentioned, I'm going to do public interest capitalism in the statement. Third one, Mr. Kono, former foreign minister. He is teaming up with Mr. Ishiba. They are also public interest capitalism is very important, indispensable for Japan. So no matter who becomes, they are going to implement public interest capitalism. they want to do it. This is one example that I'm implementing public interest capital in developing countries. This is a case of Bangladesh. There are 160 million people, but very poor, the poorest country in Asia. In 2005, when I went there, the income per capita is less than $1 because 50% of the people cannot read and write. So I thought the education is very important, but I cannot build the schools for my lifetime in Bangladesh. So I thought the distance learning is a way to solve. So I had to create new telecommunication companies. So this is it, the BlackNet. But I don't know where the poor people are located. So I team up with the BLAC. BLAC stands for the Bangladesh Rural Advancement Committee, which operates more than 20,000 schools in rural areas. So I had them own 40% shares. This means if we make a $1 million profit, 40% goes to this NGO. NGO has no shareholders, so entire profit can be utilized for the social cause, such as education and healthcare. This is a design diagram of the real public interest capitalism implementation in developing countries. When I announced this kind of structure in the United States, 40% giving away is too much. Let's make it at 5% or 3%. I said, no, if you don't like these ideas, don't become my shareholders. But this company is doing quite well. And here in Africa, these blue parties are COMESA. It's called the Common Market of Eastern and Southern Africa. It's an African version of the RCP or TPP. Now the 19 countries are members, but this is going to become expanded to 27. That means half of the African countries. And the capital is located in Lusaka, it's Zambia. Therefore, after I stepped down from the UN ambassador, I accepted the job as a special advisor to this president of Zambia, because I wanted to know many presidents and the governors of the central banks of all the nations in Africa, because Africa is very important for these centuries. And Kenneth Kaunda is a founding president, and Rupia Banda is a president where I was a special advisor. And most recently this year, in August 24th, Hakainde Hichilema, he was the opponent party leader. He won the election. I went to his home and lectured the public interest capitalism, and he used it. He won. So I am expecting him to talk to the many presidents in the African nations. And also I talked to the Secretary General of the COMESA, and he is also very he's also supporting the public interest capitalism. It's a very important concept for Africa. So we are working in Africa as well. These are African presidents, the member of the COMESA. So 27 countries out of the 54 are going to become the members. So I also talked to the many countries in the Pacific countries, such as Samoa, Cook Island, Marshall Island, and the Micronesia, so 14 countries. And also the 57 Islamic nations around the world. I'm talking to the many countries and Islamic nations. So purpose is creating real middle class. Unfortunately, the leaders of those countries just simply replaced with the old aristocrat of the colonial times. They have to get rid of the old mindset of the divide and rule kind of thing. So they have to think about their own people. In the United States, I am also talking to the Harvard, MIT, and the University of Massachusetts, Stanford. So every year I'm giving lectures about the new ideas. So they like. And UN headquarters also liked the ideas. In 2013, in order to implement this public interest capitalism, and I proposed tax reforming of the tax systems, accounting rules, corporate governance and compliances, and new measurement of the corporate values, such as ROE to ROC, return on companies, regulatory relaxations, finance and security regulations, and corporate law. So these are all the things that I have to do. This is 2013 in Abe administrations. And 5 years later, the US, the Business Roundtable, who declared shareholder supremacy 1997, they changed their mind. They dumped that ideas. They think the declaration of the council after this management association for the U.S. major corporations work for the corporate management respecting interests of the customer, employee, business, and partners and local communities. So they, including the Jamie Dimon, the JP Morgan chairman, is a head. Also the Bezos and the CEO of the GM and many other companies are members of this Business Roundtable. They said, and also the another people like Salesforce.com, they said that before, in 1997, they said shareholder number one. But now, in 2019, customer is number one. Employees number two. Shareholders number five. It's such a drastic change. World is changing. This is last year in January in Davos. The Davos showed the right-hand diagram as a new normal. This, don't you think, resemble what I did in 2003? The Davos World Economic Forum simply copied what we did. Now, here, the public interest capital to the RCEP countries in China. This is important. RCEP is almost as equal size of the combined size of TPP and the EU, the largest. All the rules are designed in Europe and the TPP by European or United States. RCEP, China and Japan are two major countries, and 10 ASEAN nations and Korea, and plus New Zealand, Australia. So we should redefine all the rules for the trading, finance, securities, to make the middle class wealthier. EU and TPP in the United States, although some people started to change, but it's difficult for them to change totally. But Asia, we may be able to change the directions. And this is going to guarantee the very long-term prosperity of the Asian, started from RCEP nations. So our RCEP rule-making is important issues. So once the Hong Kong joins the RCEP, I have already proposed our cabinet member of Japan to discuss about, to create a new dialogue between Japan, and ASEAN and China through Hong Kong, and discuss about new normal of the rule making. This is when the your chief executive went to Japan, I organized the working luncheon for her, inviting the CEOs and chairman of the major Japanese corporations, and George Ramen, Eduardo, and everybody was here at the table. And since then, I have been working with Hong Kong. I like Hong Kong. My parents took me to Hong Kong in 1961 when I was 9 years old. Since then, I like Hong Kong very much. So this is what I talked to the not only Prime Minister Abe, but also the Chief Executive Carrie Lam, doubling people's salary, healthy until the final moment, essentially for Asia, using RCEP to become the Hong Kong as a center of the RCEP. So these are two books I wrote about the public interest capitalism. One of them is already translated by Chinese Communist Party into Chinese. This is going to be used as a textbook for the party schools. The another one is also translated by the Professor Ka and Bing of Shanghai through my good friend. This is titling The End of Shareholder Capitalism, widely read by the Japanese people, but now started to read by the Chinese leaders in the government and party. This is another thing that we can do. In 2013, they created a society where every person can lead a healthy life until his or her last moment. This is another thing that I want to accomplish, not only Japan, but also Hong Kong and RCEP countries. In this next 2 months from now, in November, 2, 5, 9, 12, 16, 19, the World Alliance Forum in San Francisco is going to be held by the government of Japan and the Alliance Forum Foundation and UN ECOSOC. So I am inviting the Secretary Eduardo Yo. I'd like to, everybody is expecting to listen to you. And the many people here are distinguished professors from the United States, Japan, and this year I try to invite somebody from China as well. And these are kind of the hard sheet, because our chairman, Ronald Lee, is a specialist for this part. So this is a hard sheet invented by Professor Sawa of Osaka Universities. We can use this one to cure a severely failed heart. And lastly, let's make the idealism a reality. To build a well-educated, healthy middle class all over the world using public interest capital by the mid-21st century. So thank you very much for listening to me.
So thank you, Professor Hara. And so I would like to invite Professor Lee to chair the following question and answer sections. So we welcome questions from the floor and also from participant online. So for participant online, so you can use the raise your hand functions, and then Professor Lee will call your name and unmute you for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ambassador Hara, for the lecture. So the session is now open for questions by the audience as well as online participants.
Ambassador, a very enlightening speech. A very enlightening speech, and I think it really addresses the problem that we are facing in the world. This is disparity between the wealth and the middle class and the poor, and I think that this is something that we should really promote to the rest of the world. And I was wondering whether you have spoken to President Xi, because only in the last 2 months, the central government announces sharing prosperity and wealth, which is really with the same principles as you are talking to. So thank you very much. A very enlightening speech, and also my apology, I have to rush off. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony. It's a very nice comment. Let's make it happen between China and Japan through Hong Kong.
Professor, I'm actually asking a similar questions. So what is the response of the Chinese government towards your idea? I think this is other than translating your book.
I think they like ideas of the public interest capitalism in order to make the China prosperous for many, many coming years. I think they need a new concept. In 1960s and 70s, China adopted the market economics from the United States. It is not lasting for anymore.
Hi, Ambassador Hara. So my question is, in certain part of the world, let's say in Scandinavian countries, right? So they have these moving more towards a social democratic format, which obviously is different from the United States. So has your team studied how the Norwegian countries or Scandinavian countries have done, or is it similar to the public capital interest you're promoting?
Yeah, Sweden, I wanted to show this, the actual chart, which showed the economic divide with Sweden. Sweden has higher divide. And they started as a welfare economies in 1970s, went very well. But these days, I don't think they can do very well, particularly in Sweden. Norway is maybe better than, so, and also after Swedish case, after they abolished the estate tax, it is widened furthermore. So younger people want to fight against the incumbent government. In Finland, I want to show another case in the Nokia. It's a very difficult thing that happen now in Finland too. And Denmark and Iceland, I can explain to you later, country by country.
Thank you for great presentation, Professor Hara. Despite the U.S. roundtable announced in 2019 about the shareholder, despite they announced a change in shareholder priority, but still even during COVID or just after pandemic, including banks, so they start to buy back shares in market again. So do you think what can stop U.S. corporates, or what can prevent U.S. corporates from excessive kind of shareholder return?
Yeah, very unfortunately, in case of the United States, the shareholder-centric capitalism team has already very good gravities and weight. They cannot stop. They cannot change direction very quickly. Especially the institutional, the Council of Institutional Investors. They didn't like this business roundtables decisions. CEOs of the corporation wanted to change directions, but institutional shareholders did not want. This is the current situations. But they have to recognize, if we implement this public interest capitalism, company is going to grow faster. Eventually, shareholder makes much more money. They forget about that.
We have an online question. So please unmute and identify yourself, please.
Me? This is Yang Ming from TUS Holdings. Thank you, Ambassador Hara, for the invitation. I listened to the whole speech. My question is regarding the role of science and technology. You know, in your speech, the theme is creating a robust middle class. In some place, we find technology is helping to create a better middle class. In some other places, we see it creating discrepancies among the society. So I'm wondering your take over science and technology in general, how it is going to affect the public interest capitalism. Thank you.
Thank you for your questions. Done together with the specialized education for the science and engineering and medicine. It's quite important. Thank you. And George?
Thank you, Ambassador Hara. Follow on to the earlier question about shareholder buybacks or share buybacks. If you consider the shareholder buybacks and dividends, isn't that something that can be quite quickly solved by agreeable governments such as Japan's by taxation, taxing on a progressive basis excessive dividends, for example, or shareholder buybacks?
Yeah, we are considering that kind of taxation. And another one is if the shareholder buyback happens, like a 10%, we oblige the corporation to increase 10% increase in salary too. Then shareholder should be very prudent, right? Okay. Yeah.
Having a big heart for Hong Kong and warm welcome to Hong Kong again, and make Hong Kong your second home. I just wonder, you mentioned about the RCEP, the importance of RCEP, and we are also enjoying this new opportunity called the GBA and so on. How do you see Hong Kong as the golden bridge between GBA and RCEP markets? How can we play a role here? Yeah. Can we be the center of that actions? Yeah, upcoming actions.
Yeah, largest economy, the single economy in the world is China. But within China, GBA is probably the best place, highest growth, and then very strong standards, science and technology and everything. And Hong Kong has a top 4 out of 8 universities in China. So Hong Kong is located in a very good positions to lead the GBA. So I think we can make use of the many things of the asset of GBA to make Hong Kong very unique. So I have a couple of ideas. I would like to share that one in the next speech.
Oh, thank you. Very interesting talk. So the old way of maximizing shareholder value is kind of simple. There can be a single number, but the disparate kind of goals, the earth, the employees, these are quantified in different units. Is there a way to give like a single number to show that you're maximizing all those things at once?
We have to take the approach of that to take the low-hanging fruits. So we have to take care of the employees' share first, then customers, gradually. And many of the things, as I described, the definition of the public interest, it's not only the economic interest, but also the spiritual interest. It cannot be quantified. The American schools are trying to too much quantifying everything. It's the wrong way to do it. So I think we would like to make some kind of engagement with many people, and they can declare their own way of doing to benefit and contribute to the earth, local communities. So I think we can give that freedom for all the members. This is a probably nice way.
Hi, Professor. Sorry, I'm a bit nervous. So my question is, I really like the idea about public interest capitalism. But while we are working towards this goal, are we making our economy more, or the society towards socialism, or we're improving the capitalism system? Thank you.
Yeah, socialism is idea is very good, but reality, by communism or socialism, the country cannot make everybody rich. Therefore, even China, Deng Xiaoping adopted American capitalism systems into China, although they don't they do not call it, it's capitalism. But basically it's a capitalism. Everybody knows. Therefore, Alibaba and Tencent and everybody are becoming more similar to the US corporations. But how to make everybody wealthier, how to make rich middle class, this is a challenge. Neither the traditional capital, communism or socialism dictated by the Marx and Engels, I don't think they can do it. Likewise, the US capitalism also has some challenge. So I'm thinking, I'm proposing new ideas.
So we can take one final question.
Good afternoon. My name is Vincent Chong. I'm from Ivy Group. Now, first of all, I'm not a professionally trained economist. I just have an ordinary question to ask of this extraordinary speaker and panel. Now, as we all know, the key words in today's seminar is well-educated, healthy, and middle class. Now, what is the panel's view on the potential challenges that might arise because of the dichotomy of policy-driven, government-led initiative to achieve the objective and the free market activities to achieve the objective? Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think we have to have a both way, but the important thing is the philosophy. If the private sectors and the government sectors, they have to have a common philosophies. Then I think what you said can be implemented.
All right. So time flies is an indication that everyone is having a good time. So thank you. We have had a very good discussion, and once again, let's thank Ambassador Hara for the fantastic lecture that he has just given.
Thank you very much.
So as a token of appreciation, I would like to invite Professor Lee to present a souvenir to Ambassador Hara. So thank you. So that's conclude the Dr. Lee Dak-Sum research seminar. And so thank you for your participation. I would like to invite the distinguished guests to actually come forward for photo taking. Thank you.